Welcome to SpearNation Radio Show here at Land's Restaurant, Dunlap, Tennessee. I'm your host, Chandler Morrison, without my co-host, who is late today, Alec Hudson. He said he will be here shortly, so we're not too worried about that. What a week of sports has been for Sequatchie County. Just some dominant wins for the girls' soccer team, and of course, that shocker for the high school football. We'll talk about that and a lot more on today's edition of SpearNation Radio. Today in the studio, we have Coach Scott Chapman. Say hi to the people.
How's it going?
Good. And we got football player Archer Thompson.
How's it going?
And first, let's get those scores out of the way. First, girls soccer had 3 games on this homecoming week. Their first on Monday was a 7-0 blowout against the Howard Tigers. And Coach, if you see anything wrong, just correct me.
Okay.
All right. 6A Lady Indians would score in the winning effort with 2 from Madison Adams and several others with 1, including Bailey Adams, Julia Mosley, Jerry Johnson, Allie Brady, and Brianna Stevens. 2 assists by Kirsten Hudson and 1 save by Bree Hill. On Tuesday, Lady Indians would turn around and play a second game in 2 days against Cannon County. Only 3 players would score in this one, including Bailey Adams with 3 in the first half alone. Madison Adams would score late in the first, and Natalie Childers would score early in the second. Brianna Stevens would have 3 saves on the day as the Lady Indians would win in dominant fashion 5-2. Both Cannon County goals would come late in the second half. Thursday, the Lady Indians would travel to Hickson High School for a match. The Lady Indians would go on to lose that game 7-1. That long goal for the Indians coming from Bailey Adams. That score could have been a lot worse as senior Brianna Stevens came up with 10 saves in that losing effort. The Lady Indians soccer team is 4-3-2 on the season. They will travel to Chattanooga Central this Tuesday at 4:30 before playing an in-school matchup against Marion County on Thursday. Middle school Braves would take on Whitwell Thursday night at Whitwell High School Stadium. They would lose 12-6 in overtime. Big story this week wasn't the score, but what actually happened after the game. Both teams came together to pray, even as intense and competitive as that game was. That was something that most in the area can be very pleased about. Finally, your high school team took on the Pirates of South Pittsburgh in a homecoming matchup. The score would be shocking as Sequatchie County would walk away with a hard-fought 21-18 victory. We'll talk more about that later with Archer Thompson. And some of the events of note from that halftime, your homecoming queen is Lindsay Carr, or 2014 homecoming queen is Lindsay Carr. And Spear would like to congratulate her on being voted for that honor. As for your overall homecoming result, the seniors would win. A total shocker, right? Just a great week of homecoming. We'll talk more about that later. This has been your Week in Sports Recap brought to you by Citizens Tri-County Bank. Local banking made easy. Now we have Scott Chapman in the house today. How we doing today, Coach?
Good.
So first thing first, good wins against Howard and Cannon County. But Hickson kind of threw a wrinkle in there. Were they the better team in that game, or were there some other factors contributing to that?
It's hard to say if they were, the better team or not. Obviously, the score said they were. But, anytime, we had 3 games this week in and around all the homecoming events and everything else that's going on. I think it caught up with us. I think a lot of the minds weren't exactly set on soccer that night, and I think it showed up on the score. But they had a couple of good players. We're missing a couple of good players because of injuries and things. And, well, let me put it this way. In the 3.5 years I've been coaching, that was probably the worst game we've ever played in girls soccer. So I don't want to take anything away from Hickson, but at the same time, it's I've seen my girls play a lot better than that. So good team. First part of the week, couple schools we played there. Howard, first year program, I think. We got most of our JV in. It's a good all-around game from both sides. And then Cannon County, a little tougher, but able to play against them. But see, that's at the beginning of the week, and the homecoming things haven't really kicked in. I think that had a big part of it.
Okay. How's it been playing the high school stadium this year? I've kind of transitioned over to that this year.
It makes the game a totally different game, to be quite honest with you. I know that might be a little hard to understand, but without the stadium, it was a little hard to make money. People can stand outside the fence and sort of peek through and not really pay. The field itself, that practice field gets overworked. And it's not like we're just running on it. There's something that's got to roll smoothly across it. And with that kind of work, it can be very difficult. It takes a toll on control and being able to play the way we want to play. But the stadium's really helped out with that. People have to pay to watch. I think the use of the sound and hopefully the scoreboard here this next week and things have made it a little more real for the players. And I think visiting schools, especially that come over, there's not been one school that's visited that we played against that hasn't complimented our facilities and things. So it shows other sports, other teams that how beautiful our valley is and our school. So it's really helped us out, I think, this year.
Yeah, a lot of the you're visiting, or a lot of the teams you go to visit, do they have how do their stadiums compare? How do they even have their own field, or they just go to the football field?
Most, of course, girls is in the fall and boys is in the spring, so that plays a little bit of a difference. All the spring games or boys seasons are always played on the football field or whatever main stadium. If they have, most schools either have their own soccer facility field or they're on the football field. But then in the fall, it's a little more difficult. I think some of the teams, the smaller schools especially, may not have their own field they share, or they may be in a real rough situation, but with a rough field. But most of them have that opportunity to play on the football field, especially in the spring.
Okay, what can we expect for this week's games?
We should expect 2 wins. I mean, to be honest with you. Central on Tuesday, and then Marion in-school game on Thursday should both be victories. I mean, I know I shouldn't probably say that straightforward, but the teams that we beat last year, the teams that we should be able to beat this year. But of course, in order to do that, we're going to have to play our game, and last Thursday was not. So, can we beat them? Surely we can. It just depends on who shows up, because last Thursday I don't know who that was.
To get in the soccer's form of the state playoffs, you have to finish first or second in district tournament. A lot of people don't understand that, but is there an advantage to having maybe a seasoned record, maybe being an underdog going to the district tournament?
No, but it's sort of a hard question to answer because we only have 4 teams in our district. There's more teams than that, but the only teams that have soccer programs, there's only 4 of them, 2 of which are private, and one is Signal. So the private schools are a grouping of some of the best players in Chattanooga. If you finish last in the district, you're going to play one of those schools. But because there's 2 of them, it really doesn't make a difference, to be honest. Those are the 2 schools. Usually Signal might get in there once in a while that are going to compete for not only the district, but the regional championship and who eventually goes to the state. It's going to be between those 2 schools. So finishing last or finishing third or whatever really doesn't make a big difference when it comes to that, because you're going to have to go through them anyway, both of them. So.
And correct me if I'm wrong, when you go to the district tournament, you usually have, what y'all usually do is y'all usually end up playing y'all usually end up being around a fourth place team in the district, somewhere around there.
The first 3 years of boys soccer, we always finished third behind Notre Dame and CCS. Signal got a lot better. The boys side, the girls side has always been really brilliant, but we usually finish 4th now, pretty consistently.
It's not because you're mad; it's just because you have those good scores.
Well, I made an error a second ago because we really have 5 teams. Jackson County, which I knew nothing of until the playoffs last year.
They just kind of found their way in there playing y'all.
I just got the schedule, and that's who was in our district. I didn't even know where this place is, so no one's disrespect. I just didn't know where they were. So we actually have 5, and we always finish 4th. But and yes, to answer your question, it's hard to say. Last year the girls soccer team had 2 losses. We play 16 games a year. We had 2 losses and 3 ties. and we finished 4th in the district. I mean, and don't make it past the first round. So we win the first round and don't make it past the second, I guess. So 2 losses, a 2-loss team playing basically everyone out of Chattanooga and not making it past the second round. I think that's pretty obvious that it's not a matter of the Indians not being a good program. It's a matter of how dominant the other programs are.
So across the board, you're probably more the person that likes that private-public split coming up, maybe.
I don't think there'll be another. I mean, I'm obviously going to be biased, but
yeah.
I don't think there'll be another sport that benefits from that split more than soccer.
Yeah, definitely.
And the thing is I help out with camps and I run a lot of help out with a lot of select coaching and things over in Chattanooga when I'm not coaching the high school team. And I know these players. I see the kids when they're 6 years old and what they're working on. And we just don't have that feeder programs yet. I think we will, but we just don't have it yet. So,
okay. So how does an in-school matchup help your team?
It doesn't. I know that sounds weird. Why do you have it then? Well, it's a matter of money. I mean, seriously, if you want the truth.
I mean, you got about 600, almost 700 students at the high school. Probably about 3/4 of them will come out to that game rather than sit in the library. So.
Right. Yeah, that's. I mean, in realistic terms, that's why we do it. Actually, as far as the way we play on in-school games, it's horrible. Especially for the girls, they get really nerved up and are. I know I'm going to get yelled at here, but more concerned about how they look than how they play. That type of thing. And so it really they get really worked up about it. The guys, on the other hand, are different.
Kind of motivates them a little bit.
They're looking to hit someone and make the whole student body go nuts. The girls are not. I shouldn't stereotype and say all the girls, but for the most part, that's not something. We usually play our worst on in-school games, to be quite honest. But like I said, our program really doesn't take a whole lot of money to run, and we can make about half our budget or so on an in-school game. So it's very, very helpful. I'm glad that the school lets us do that. I also think last year, I don't know if you remember or were there or anything, but last year we had the elementary school out for the boys in the school game.
It's about half of that game because they had to go in there. Yeah, they were out
that was
there.
Awesome. I mean, you've got, I think Griffith is one of the largest elementary schools.
It is the second largest in the state.
Yeah,
so.
and you've got all these little kids out there watching soccer, some of which for the first time ever. I think it's helpful in the fact that it gets it out there. There are actually some students in the elementary and middle school that don't even know we have a high school soccer team, probably.
Yeah.
So it really helps with that, too.
From a teacher's perspective, what is homecoming like?
Chaos. Absolute chaos. I mean, I love it. I think it's a great thing for the students. There's a lot of students that don't do anything in our school. But for some reason, homecoming week, they're all involved. So I think it's great for that. Obviously, it's great for football.
I mean, pretty much from Monday morning to Friday night, the whole week is building up to that game. Even more so with that homecoming week, because that's what it's pretty much all about.
Right.
At the end of the games, then the week is that game.
Right, and I think that's the good things about it. I think it. I really, in past there's been football coaches that have not allowed the students to get involved, football players, I should say, involved in the activities because they may lose focus. I really don't know that I agree with that. I really think it's a week of focus, and there's expectations and anticipation that I think builds up, and we use that too for soccer. We had 3 games this week. And we used homecoming for that too. Now, education-wise,
you're not getting anything done.
You're really not. I mean, you try the best you can, but when a kid's wearing a Halloween costume in the middle of the class, it's a little hard to focus on, the French Revolution or something. So, but I love it. I think it's a great thing.
The only thing you don't like about it is the distraction it brings for your soccer team, right?
I mean, Thursday was definitely evidence of that.
Kind of a bad timing game because Hickson is a pretty good program, and you just kind of got the bad luck of the draw playing them at that point.
We haven't played them in, I would say, 4 years, and they put the hammer down on us then, and they did. Like I said, I think let's put it this way: last year they barely beat Eastridge. Hickson barely beat Eastridge to win the district over there. Mm-hmm. We beat Eastridge last year 3-2. So, in comparison, either they got a whole lot better or we played a whole lot worse, because that seems like it should have been
a close matchup.
Okay. And again, if you take the private schools out of the mix, that probably would have been your regional championship, maybe throwing Signal in there as well. But
yeah.
So it's a big difference.
So, best thing about homecoming week. We talk about that. What's your favorite part about it?
I really like the Friday.
The Friday.
I like the field events. I think it's cool that we get to, and this is all new to me, by the way. I mean, I just read yesterday the school that I graduated from. I was looking them up, their football, trying to get an idea of what they were doing this season here, and they've just moved up to 7A. So, yeah. So coming from a different area, we don't have things like parades. I mean, you couldn't do that.
And it's probably a bigger school, so they probably didn't have maybe not the resource. They probably weren't able to do as much as we do with maybe like a 600-person class rather than maybe a 1,500-person class, something like that.
No, there's no way.
Yeah.
Their freshman class is big as the school, as our school. So,
yeah.
7A, you might as well multiply the school by 7 times. So it's and everything that goes along with that, the faculty, the facilities, everything. There's no way you could march 4,000 students through town. Nor could you do the things on Friday that we do, where it's field events and things like that. I think that's unique to places like our town, and I think it binds or unifies the different classes. That's why the seniors are so psyched. This isn't the first year that this year's senior class has done well on homecoming week.
Okay.
They were somewhat dominant, I think, last year, unless I'm
They lost it just barely. I think it was about like 3 or 4 points, so it's pretty close.
They have a lot of athletes in that class, but also they're pretty close.
Yeah.
And I see that in the sophomore group that's got this year's sophomores too. I think that's cool. There's some unity there that you get through this last week that a lot of schools do not get. I mean, I graduated with people, when I remember graduation day, they walked across, I didn't know who they were. I was like, who is this dude?
And when I graduated last year, I knew just about everybody in my class, so I mean...
never even seen or heard of people. It was like, who is this guy?
Yeah.
That's sort of a bummer. I mean, and that's not something that kids at Sequatchie really have to deal with. So it's a great week. I think it really helps the student body. I know the teachers go through a lot. It's sort of rough for them. Mr. Lane, it's not his favorite
He's pulling hairs out
It's really not his favorite week, but for the student, I think he knows and understands the students really benefit from this week. And hey, the football team won. So maybe that had some effect on it as well. So.
Any comments on that game? Which thing did it?
I'll probably be crucified here, but I didn't go. But I was listening to you all, so I had 3 games of soccer, and I don't remember what my own family looks like, so I spent the night with them. But I did listen to it on Spear.
Like you were there, right?
Yeah, as if I was there. It's like sitting right there. No, it was, from what I hear, the only thing I don't understand is the let-up. It seemed like we had it in hand, and then we have to, get scary about it.
We have to make sure it's close.
We have to get a little scary. I don't know. Of course, I'm not there, but I'm not so thrilled about that. I'm sure coach isn't either. But, hey, it's a win, and against a team that we've not beaten in a long time. I'm a realist, so of course I look at the stats and things and how teams have gotten better, worse, or whatever. But the bottom line is that stuff just doesn't matter. It was a win, and it's hopefully something that can push our, the week before, sort of a negative effect on the team. Hopefully this week pushes them, and yes, I'm a soccer coach, but I care about our boys, and I hope that they can use that.
Because you did help with Christian last year when he was kicking, right?
Yeah, I was kicking coach last year to help out some kickers. And of course, that's just something I wanted to do for the guys. It's not something I got anything for, and I don't need anything. So it's I do care about them. I think if we all have that mentality, I think every sport benefits. So.
Yeah. We kind of see this moving a little bit, moving toward not so much football. I mean, football's still big here at Sports Guy. I mean, it's a valley school, but we're moving a little bit more toward. All right, we got soccer, we have volleyball, we have softball, we have this and that. So
it's sort of unique for our school.
Mm-hmm.
It's not unique for my school that I graduated from, with 3,000 to 4,000 people. You have enough to fill those clubs and sports and whatever. I mean, that's why I think this is so cool. We had this at our school, but, our school is huge. This is a small school, so stuff like the Spear, that's awesome. It can be difficult when you get all those activities and you only have a 600-person population.
A lot of multi-sport athletes, a lot of small teams in relative to the school. So
yeah, I mean, I think that the key, I think, is are we moving away from anything? No, I think obviously, like you said, football is football.
Yeah,
I mean that's all. I mean,
definitely.
I don't really. People have said to me before, "This is football country." Well, this is America. I mean,
it's America. Yeah,
and there's no
that's our pastime.
There's no parts of it that's not. I mean, it is all the way around. Maybe more so in the South, but soccer is not adored at some other part of the country over football either. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's just the way it is. But I think the thing is we're all a little hesitant towards change, and it can be tough and it can be difficult because we tend to focus on the things that are a little more negative about change, and there are negative things about it. But I think there's a lot of positive things. If we focus on those, I think we can help each other out. But we've got the athletes. I think that each coach knows that athlete. Like, for example, if I have a football player that comes out for boys soccer, I'd have to be insane to make this individual a soccer player. That's not the purpose. The purpose is how can I make this kid a better football player by playing and hanging out with his friends and playing soccer. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people might think, well, you can't. I think you can. And I think that there's been some boys on the last couple teams, Justin Parsons and people like that have really benefited from playing both.
Definitely. Soccer get a lot of footwork in there as opposed to maybe football, not so much. You're more boom, hit somebody, get faster. But soccer really does get you more agile, I guess. It kind of helps some of the backs we've had in the past.
Balance,
definitely.
Foot control and speed. I mean, it helps in all that. And, of course, you get kickers. I mean,
definitely. Christian Payne. But, appreciate having you on today, Coach.
No problem.
And anytime you want to stop by, you're welcome to.
All right, I appreciate it.
All right. Now I'll talk about the week ahead in sports. And I'm going to bring Alex Hudson over here. Who's eating. Imagine that, we're at a restaurant. He's eating.
Mm-hmm.
And Alex, you're my co-host for today. Did you know that?
No, I did not know that.
All right.
From Tuesday to Thursday?
Tuesday to Friday.
Tuesday to Friday. All right.
You have to get really close to it.
On Tuesday, we have girls soccer at Chattanooga Central, 4 p.m. at CDT. Central Time. And girls volleyball at home versus CCS at 5:30 for JV and 6:30 for varsity. On Thursday, both soccer and volleyball play again. Soccer will have a day game against Marion County, and volleyball will travel to Bledsoe County with JV at 5:30 and varsity at 6:30. Middle school football will play at home versus Jasper Middle School at 6 p.m. Central. Friday, the high school football will host Chattanooga Christian School at 7 p.m. Central at Wayne Reynolds Stadium. The Indians will look to improve their record to 3-1 after a victory against South Pittsburgh.
All right, good. All right, thank you, Alec. That's our week ahead in sports. You got to talk sometime, Alec. Come on. You got to talk to us about football or the tribe or whatever we're going to do.
All right. I will.
Now that he's got his chicken over here, he's willing to talk. And we got Archer Thompson in the house today. How you doing, Archer?
I'm doing good, thanks.
Just get a little bit closer in there. There you go.
Okay.
And so this week, after losing 36-35 to Grundy, how hard was that game, by the way?
That was a hard loss because we should have won that. We had the skills and the ability and the players to win that game, but I think we just didn't quite have the mindset. I think we maybe still had this kind of a low morale. I think we just didn't have the morale, and Grundy County came at it with a 110% morale, and I think that's where we got beat. We got brought down to luck, and the luck did not fall in our favor from those refs. So, but I think coming into this week's game, we changed our morale a whole bunch. We had it all. We were going in to win this game. We weren't planning on losing. And I think that made a big difference.
Were you expecting the Grundy? I hate to go back to the Grundy game because you're new on the show this week, so I want to kind of touch base on that. Do you think that Grundy, y'all expect to kind of maybe not blow them out, but beat them maybe by a touchdown or two or something like that, rather than being that close?
Coach Jones, for our class, he asked us what we thought our expected score was, and I predicted 35-7. And I think that we were definitely expecting a big game.
You got 35 right.
I got 35. Our defense a little weak there. But
yeah.
I definitely think that we were all expecting a much bigger game, a much bigger win. That we kind of got up there, and I know we had a few people get subbed in once we got a little bit more, once we got ahead, and I think that there was just, they were starting to able to make some bigger plays, and it finally kind of came up and caught up to us. Stuff can change really fast in a football game. It doesn't take long at all, and a few big plays can make a big difference.
Oh, definitely. With that game, they started to come back. Were y'all afraid that they might actually come back and win it at that point?
I think we were.
Because, it was a mad rush right there at the end. If they would have got a onside kick, there was a chance they could potentially tie it and send you to a second overtime in a second week.
Yeah, and I was very aware of the potential for them to beat us. I knew that once they got that, even that second touchdown, when they made that second touchdown, I was like, okay, well, they just need a touchdown with a 2-point conversion and a field goal, and they could beat us. So I think we were all very aware that they were back in the game again. But I think that we were also very confident, very pumped up at that point. We knew it's time to kick it back in the A game, and we did.
You talk about that South Pittsburgh team being a little bit scrappy. That's not been their mentality in the past few years. Usually it's just, we're going to beat you outside with speed, and that works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. So what was it like? It was kind of different from playing them last year. I don't know if you got to see how it was on the sideline compared last year compared to this year, but it's been different. How do you...
I feel like South Pittsburgh, they lost a little bit of speed, a little bit of talent this year. I think they were still very capable team, but I feel that they kind of knew that they were going to have to play harder this year. They weren't going to be able to come in and just whoop us like they used to, and I think that they kind of came with this mentality that we're going to fight to the end. I do believe they were definitely expecting to beat us, but I think they knew that they were going to have to fight a little bit more. Now, after the Grundy game, I don't know if that changed, but we were definitely expecting a lot of passing game after the Grundy, because that is what, hurt us most in that game.
Yeah, y'all had a lot of great pass breakups. I mean, I saw 2 alone by Lofty. What's his first name? Caleb Lofty, I believe. Caleb Lofty and Brad Thompson. They both of them broke up a pass at nearly the same spot on the field on 3rd down and long. And I'm sitting there thinking, well, if we don't have those 2 great pass, deflections, we could easily be sitting at the end of this game 21-21 and waiting for South Pittsburgh to score again or waiting for Sequatchie to score again. So I mean, so that was really, really good effort by them. The secondary definitely stepped up this week. What do you credit that to?
I think that was maybe mostly just more drive and maybe a slight change in coaching. I do not play on secondary, so I cannot say what Coach Watt and Coach Cockwood were, if they maybe kind of worked on changing some stuff up. But I do definitely feel like in practice I definitely saw they were turning up. I also think that I felt like as defensively I was very confident on knowing every play. I felt like the South Pittsburgh had a pretty easy defense to read, and that we knew they were going to be passing a lot. And so that makes it a lot easier on your secondary. If you can assume a team is going to pass, then that makes it a lot easier.
And you'd always say the trick where you look at their knuckles. Have you ever done that, like in a game? Like look at their knuckles and see whether they're passing or whether they're running. Because they say if the knuckles are white, they're gonna run. If the knuckles are not, if they're kind of relaxed, you're gonna see them pass. You ever used that before?
I have. As a linebacker, I use it a lot. I like to look at our guards. And if you're looking for a pulling guard, a guard that's going to pull tends to have that lighter knuckle syndrome because they got to get up and go real quick. You can look at that. You can also look at the spacing in between your splits between your linemen to see how if they're going to run, if they're going to pass. So that trick does work. If you've got a good team and a good line coach, they do coach for that. And I didn't know a middle school I played on the line, and that was something that they tried to coach into us was not to show the play by our hands or looking one way or the other.
Yeah, definitely. So homecoming week, how did that affect, how y'all prepared for the week? Was Coach looking at y'all to be more focused, or was he kind of a little bit more relaxing as it was homecoming week, or what was going on there?
I felt like Coach Dockett was all around a lot just better this week. It was the first week I can ever say that. I looked at Coach Dockett and said he had a sense of humor, a little bit this week. And so I'm not sure if that was, from the homecoming week or what, but I felt like practices were more intense but more relaxed at the same time. Like they were, like maybe we were more focused and didn't need quite the push from the coaches this week. I feel like we were very pumped up for this game, and I went into it knowing that it could be a close game. That it was one of those that we could beat South Pittsburgh this year, but they could still definitely beat us, and we needed to go at it 110%.
All right. I'm going to have some more questions for you, Myth. Go ahead and get that. Yeah. I do want to say this. I'm going to have Alec talk for a second about our Twitter questions. I want him to, you can either tweet them to me at Stanky Danky's Flag. You can tweet them to at the Spear Sports, or you can tweet them to
at Hudson Alec.
Hudson Alec, and that's just Hudson Alec, no underscore, anything like that?
Or no, Hudson
underscore Alec, okay. And go ahead and tell them a little bit about that, and tell them about the questions you got last week. Hey.
Well, I really just need questions because, need questions. Last week, some of the questions were talking about Ninja Turtles and whatnot, and who I thought, which Napoleon Dynamite character I was which like. So, I said Kit, by the way. So, if you guys would tweet me some questions. I mean, heck, just tweet me, period. I'll give you a shout-out or something of this sort, you know. Or you could text me and tell me you're listening. And then I'll give you a shout-out too. I don't have any questions yet. Nobody's tweeting me anything. Oh, there's a question.
What is your question?
Okay, here's a question. From Archer Thompson, how's the basketball team looking this year? Well, we're looking better. It started off slow because we lost a bunch of the key players last year. 6 seniors, actually, that we lost, and five seniors that we lost, 4 of them that were starting. So we're just trying to get to where we can work together as a team and just get back to normal. We're better than normal, whatever happens, you know.
Have you seen the new Coach Smith meme?
Yes, I have.
Are you going to be using that in your daily life now?
The I don't want to hear it meme?
Yeah.
I think it'll definitely pop up in a few group messages. Not gonna lie. Or, yeah.
I thought it was pretty funny, though, didn't you?
Yeah.
Every time I tweet something about Coach Smith, the entire basketball team just favors it, retweets it, makes sure it gets out there because they just want to make fun of their coach look bad. It's funny.
I mean, not so much make fun of, but more just give him a hard time because I mean, he knows he says some things that are funny and he doesn't mean to, but it's still funny to mess around.
What was that quote from last week? Put that in your
smoke and pipe it. That's what he said.
We still love you, Coach Smith. Still love you. But,
shout out to Coach Smith.
What up? Anyways, we'll get back to Archer. Sorry I had to take that little segue right there. But like I said, we talked about that South Pittsburgh team, and excuse me. You said y'all are more focused, and so do you think that Coach Cockwood is pulling it more toward player-led instead of trying to get the coaches involved in it?